When Khalid ibn Walid gone from Ain al-Tamr to Dormat el-Jandal for the help of Iyad, the Persian court believed that Khalid had returned to Arabia with a large part of his army. Persians decided to throw the Muslims back into the desert and regain the territories and the prestige which the empire had lost. The Persians had resolved not to fight Khalid again, but they were quite prepared to fight the Muslims without Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid ibn al-Walid first defeated them at the Battle of Musayyah and then advanced towards Saniyy. Background: by now Bahman had organized a new army, made up partly of the survivors of Battle of Velez, partly of veterans drawn from garrisons in other parts of the empire, and partly of fresh recruits. This army was now ready for battle. With its numerous raw recruits, however, it was not of the same quality as the armies which had fought Muslims south of the Euphrates. Bahman decided not to commit this army to battle until its strength had been augmented by the large forces of Christian Arabs who remained loyal to the empire. He therefore initiated parleys with the Arabs. The Christian Arabs responded willingly and eagerly to the overtures of the Persian court. Apart from the defeat at Ain al-Tamr, the incensed Arabs of this area also sought revenge for the killing of their great chief, Aqqa. They were anxious, too, to regain the lands which they had lost to the Muslims, and to free the comrades who had been captured by the invaders. A large number of clans began to prepare for war. Bahman divided the Persian forces into two field armies and sent them off from Ctesiphon. One, under Rusbeh, moved to Hosaid, and the other, under Zamar, moved to Carnafis. For the moment, these two armies were located in separate areas for ease of movement and administration. But they were not to proceed beyond these locations until the Christian Arabs were ready for battle. Bahman planned to concentrate the entire imperial army to either await a Muslim attack or march south to fight the Muslims at Hira. But the Christian Arabs were not yet ready. They were forming into two groups. The first, under a chief named Huzail bin Imran, was concentrating at Musayyah. The second, under the chief Rabarab bin Bujair, was gathering at two places close to each other, Saniyy and Zumail. These two groups, when ready, would join the Persians and form one large, powerful army. This was the situation that greeted Khalid on his arrival at Hira from Dormat al-Jandal in the fourth week of September 633. The situation could assume dangerous proportions, but only if the four imperial forces succeeded in uniting and took offensive action against Hira. Khalid decided to fight and destroy each imperial force separately. With this strategy in mind, he divided the Muslim garrison of Hira into two corps, one of which he placed under Qaqqa and the other under Abu Layla. Khalid sent them both to Ain al-Tamr, where he would join him a little later, after the troops who had fought at Dormat el-Jandal had been rested. A few days later the entire Muslim army was concentrated at Ain al-Tamr, except for a small garrison left under Iyad bin Ghanem to look after Hira. The army was now organized in three corps of about 5,000 men each, one of which was kept in reserve. Khalid sent Qaqqa to Husayd and Abu Layla to Carnafis with orders to destroy the Persian armies at those places. It was Khalid's intention to fight both Persian armies speedily as well as simultaneously, so that neither could get away while the other was being slashed to pieces. But this was not to be, for the march to Carnafis was longer than to Husayd, and Abu Layla failed to move his forces with sufficient speed to make up for this difference. Meanwhile Khalid remained with his reserve corps at Ain al-Tamr to guard against any offensive movement from Saniyy and Zumail towards Hira. Qaqqa defeated the Persian army at Husayd. The remaining army retreated to Carnafis, where when the commander of the army at Carnafis heard about the Muslims' victory at Husayd, withdrew his forces to Musayyah and joined the Christian Arabs, where Khalid ibn Walid defeated them in the Battle of Musayyah. the maneuver of Khalid. The remaining objectives were Musayya and the Saniyy and Zumail. Khalid ibn al-Walid selected Musayya. The other was a smaller objective and could be dealt with later without difficulty, as by now the exact location of the imperial camps at Musayya, Saniyy and Zumail had been established by Khalid's agents, and to deal with this objective he designed a maneuver which, seldom practiced in history, is one of the most difficult to control and coordinate: a simultaneous converging attack from 3 directions made at night. The battle. Khalid decided to repeat the maneuver of Musayya. His army would operate in 3 corps as before. From Musayya the corps would march on separate axes and converge for the attack on Saniyy on a predetermined night and time. Khalid advanced on the direct route from Musayya while the other corps moved wide on his flanks. On the appointed night and at the appointed time, in the second week of November 633, the 3 corps fell upon the Arab camp at Saniyy. This time even fewer Arabs survived the slaughter. The women and children and many youths, however, were spared, and taken captive. The Arab commander, Rabi'a bin Bujair, was killed. Aftermath. After the Battle of Saniyy, Khalid ibn Walid attacked the Arab forces at Zumail and destroyed them too, after which the Persian might in Iraq finally ended.